You are listening to the Manument Podcast. My name is Casey, and I'm here with my buddy Glenn Johnson, investment advisor and founder of Jabez Financial right here in the Uncasville area. In every episode, he is here to break down today's biggest retirement worries and headlines for us. But before we dive in, if you're ready to take a fresh look at your retirement plan, Glenn's offering a complimentary introductory conversation exclusively to our radio listeners today. We are opening our phone lines right now. 860-288-9977 is that number to dial. And if you're one of our first 5 callers, you can get on Glenn's calendar. You can sit down with him face-to-face in his office. He's right here in Uncasville. He's just down the street from Mohegan Sun. So take advantage while he's got these open spots available. 860-288-9977. One more time so you can write it down, 860-288-9977. Or if online is better for you, you can always head to our website. We're at jabezfinancial.com, and that's Jabez, J-A-B-E-Z. All right, Glenn, shall we get into some retirement talk?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Let's do it. Morningstar took a look at where people are investing inside their 401ks and found that last year, $4 trillion were in target date funds. That's a record. The idea is to pick the fund with the year near your retirement date. And according to Carrie Hannon of Yahoo Finance, the fund does the rest. Take a listen.
But what I love about these and why they're so great for many investors is like when the markets go jangly, we don't sit there and worry because these are kind of balancing, diversifying your investments in a way that so you don't have to be panicking and you know that they're going to rebalance in order to keep you focused on what the goal is.
Now, that sounds great, but is that how it really works, Glenn? Talk to us about this.
Well, there's limited options. Do we really think pension fund managers were using just target date funds where we just pick a date that we're going to retire and let it ride? Target date funds, they serve a purpose. They serve a purpose when there's nobody making any real educated decisions. So when they pick a date as to when somebody expects to retire, they'll put together a portfolio based upon an appropriate amount of diversification between stocks, bonds, large cap, small cap, international. They'll put together some fairly decent portfolios within those target date funds. And then another thing that's good about them is they'll rebalance. They'll automatically sell at a high and buy at a low and rebalance and maintain the same level of risk exposure. So when there's no management at all taking place in the 401k, a target fund would be the most responsible place to put your money as opposed to just randomly picking mutual funds. So they serve a purpose, they have value, and they've been around for a number of years. And over time, people have been using them more and more. That said, there's more to the story. Are we just picking the date in which we retire and say, okay, well, this is the date closest to our retirement date, and I'm going to choose this risk assessment or this amount of risk exposure? Well, it does not take into account what secular cycle our market is in. Are we in a bubble? Say we had 10 years to retire, so we have a more aggressive portfolio within our target date fund, and the year is 2007. And then 2008 happens, and it takes another 10 years before we get our money back. What if we're using a target fund and it's 1999, and then the bubble bursts then? So because we're in a bubble now, the target funds that were at one time conservative are now moderate. The target funds that were at one time moderate are now aggressive. And the aggressive funds is just pure gambling. So there's more to consider than just choosing our retirement date. We have to understand the economic season we're in.
Well, could you walk us through, Glenn, a scenario where a target date fund might not be the best fit for somebody who's, let's say, they're getting close to retirement?
Well, that's actually the most dangerous time to be using a target date fund because the investment options within a 401k are geared towards long-term investing. 401ks are established to attract new hirees. But as people get older and they get closer and closer to retirement, they know the investment options within those 401ks become less and less suitable. That's why the federal government allows for in-service rollovers once you're 59 and a half. So once you're 59 and a half, you're able to move your money out of your 401k in 99% of the time. you're able to move it out of the 401k into an IRA where you can choose more appropriate investments for you. Because the 401ks, they're not designed for short-term investments. See, everybody's situation is entirely different. And there's different market seasons that we're in. There's different economic cycles. So I invite you to give us a call at 860-288-9977 and come in and have a conversation about this to find out what your options really are. If you're over 59 and a half, the whole universe of investment options are available to you. And as time goes on and as your accounts are growing, the need for your financial education increases. And so it becomes more important that you get the information you need. So give us a call at 860-288-9977 and come in for a conversation just to be sure you're on the right track and you're headed to exactly to where you want to go.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize this introductory meeting. It's completely complimentary. There's no obligation. This is just a conversation with Glenn. He's wonderful to talk to, so you want to get on his calendar while he's got those spots available. He's local. He's trusted. He's been helping families in Connecticut plan for retirement for years, so let him help you as well. Give us a call, 860-288-9977. One more time, that's 860-288-9977, or you can always head to jabezfinancial.com and you can get started with us online. All right, I want you to think about how much you will spend in retirement. The rule of thumb is that retirees will spend 70 to 80% of their working year's income, but a new study by JP Morgan went further and found that 60% of households will see their spending go up and down in those early years of retirement. It's something financial planner Kevin Lum calls spending volatility. Take a listen.
Retirement spending is going to be bumpy. Some years you'll spend 20% more. Some years you'll spend 20% less. It's not a big problem as long as the averages work out and you manage the risk. But it does increase risk because often when you first retire, spending can be a bit hard to predict because you're new to retiring. And so you might think you're going to spend $100,000 a year. If you plan for $100,000 a year and then you spend $120,000 or $150,000, it can mess up your income plan.
So have you noticed this with some of your clients, Glenn? And if so, how do you plan for that spending volatility in those early years of retirement?
Great question. And we've got two kinds of expenses. We've got fixed expenses and variable expenses. And I remember years ago, a financial mentor of mine explaining this to me. He was saying how you want to have a balance between some fixed income that you can count on and some variable income for variable expenses. It just made sense to me. So when we figure out what our fixed expenses are, whether it be housing, transportation, food, utilities, that sort of thing, we want to make sure that we've established the right kind of assets that will produce the right kind of income. Meaning, if we have fixed expenses, we want to have assets that produce fixed income. When we have variable expenses, we want to have assets that produce variable income. It's a matter of having the right system together.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you mean by variable income? Can you define that for us?
Sure. When we're invested in the market and we've got, say, dividend stocks or income-producing funds, or if we're using some equities where most of our gains are through capital appreciation, when we're using the market, there's the ups and downs, the economic cycles, and sometimes we pick a winner and sometimes we end up being stuck with a loser. But when we're using assets that go up and down in value, that's going to produce a variable income. Now, with that, over the long run, the more volatile an investment option is, if you wait long enough, chances are it's going to produce a higher return. So we want to take advantage of those opportunities for expenses that we have down the road. But for our fixed expenses that we know are coming in month after month after month, that's when we want to have some sort of asset in place to cover those expenses, because we never want to gamble our source of future income for our fixed expenses. Some people say the market's the way to go 100% of the time. Other time, we've got other advisors that say you want to use fixed products like annuities 100% of the time. Why bother having the risk if you don't need it? Well, here's the point. Mutual funds wouldn't exist if they weren't appropriate for somebody at some point. Annuities wouldn't exist if they weren't filling a need for somebody at some point. It's a matter of having the right balance of the right assets to fulfill the specific lifestyle that you have. It's funny, real quick. I've got some clients that have very few fixed expenses and a tremendously high net worth. Well, they don't need fixed income. They don't need the guarantee because they have an overwhelming amount of assets that cover it. But then there's times where people are on more of a tighter budget, and the relationship between the amount of assets they have and the amount of fixed income or fixed expenses they have, it's tighter. So it takes a different approach to make sure you're using the right tools at the right time. And that's something we can talk through when you come in for a conversation. Let's have a conversation and a dialogue about it to make sure you have the right kind of assets in your portfolio that's giving you exactly what you need.
It's one of the biggest mental hurdles in retirement. We talk about it all the time. That fear of running out of money can be so very powerful, and it can really keep you from enjoying the retirement that you've worked so hard to build. But Glenn's helped so many right here in Connecticut create spending plans that are going to balance that confidence with also that flexibility. So if you've wondered, can I really afford to do this in retirement? Now is the time for you to get those answers that you've been looking for. You can give us a call. 860-288-9977 is how you can reach us. We've got those 5 spots on Glenn's calendar set aside for that complimentary introductory conversation. 860-288-9977. Take advantage of this opportunity while you can. I'll say that number one more time for you, 860-288-9977, or you can always visit us online. We are at jabezfinancial.com, and that's Jabez, J-A-B, easy. Now, Glenn, I know you are a big soccer guy, but today we're going to have a little sports talk, and it's going to involve some golf. If you're playing golf with your buddies and your ball lands a foot or so from the pin, oftentimes they'll give you a gimme putt and you can pick up without truly completing the hole. But an article I read this week in the Wall Street Journal insists that this is undermining the game. It makes a point that even pro golfers miss short putts sometimes. So, Glenn, this got me thinking from a retirement perspective, as I do, and in retirement planning, many might assume Social Security, maybe a pension, that's going to be enough income. But how do they react when they sit down with you and you're able to develop a much larger income plan for them?
It's interesting in how you think about it, because I don't play golf because with my complexion, I have no business staying out in the sun for that length of time.
You got to lather up, Glenn.
That's right. But I do thoroughly enjoy disc golf. In fact, I just built a 9-hole disc golf course on the Manument Freedom Farm that we have in Oakdale. So if you want to come out and play around a disc golf, we've got the place to do it.
That sounds like a good time. Do you get gimme putts or an equivalent of a gimme putt in the game of disc golf? I haven't played since I was a kid, so I'm not sure of the rules.
Well, one of the objectives is to throw the disc into the basket where you're hitting the chains and the disc falls into the basket. And I've got a really good friend of mine that he and I go playing quite frequently. And my drive is exceptional. I do a fantastic job driving. And when I get close to the putt, my skill set
it dwindles a little.
Yeah, there's room for development. And so I've realized that unless I can reach the chains with my arm and physically put my hand in the basket, I've got to throw it in.
No guarantee.
Right. And but the idea is financially, we think, well, we're so close that we've already made it. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Well, that's really irresponsible thinking, because just like I've missed a lot of gimme putts in disc golf where I should have gone in effortlessly, yet I've still missed. And when we're thinking that things can't go wrong, the fact is fortunes can get wiped out overnight. And it doesn't just happen in isolated circumstances. Fortunes get wiped out overnight quite frequently. And it doesn't necessarily take a whole lot, kind of like with character. You can spend your whole life building your character and your reputation, and you can blow it in an instant.
Wow, yeah.
So we want to finish strong. When we started the race, let's finish it strong. Follow it all the way through to the end. And that way we know the victory that we've created, the win that we have, we earned it all the way, start to finish.
So you're saying, things can get wiped out overnight. Things can happen. So let me ask you this, Glenn. When folks rely just on Social Security, or maybe they rely just on their pension, what are some of the biggest financial misses that could be sneaking up on them down the road?
Well, for example, let's start when we're younger. When you're younger, if something goes terribly wrong, you can pick up some overtime. You can pick up a second job. You can do whatever's necessary because you've got some natural resources, meaning time, your physical body, your brain, you can work, and you're still in that season. So when you take the financial hit, there's an opportunity to recover. But once we're retired and we're not going back into the workforce, that's when we become exceptionally vulnerable. And we're accumulating while we're saving money during the working years, and we're using the stock market, and it's growing and it's doing really well. And it's done exceptionally well ever since 2009. The rules change when you retire. We're no longer putting money in every month. Now we're taking it out, whether you need to for income or you're forced to because of required minimum distributions. And we don't have the same tools in our toolbox to be able to recover when we're hit financially. So this is where, because the rules change, our assets need to make appropriate adjustments as well, so we can avoid those pitfalls that we don't have the time or the energy or even the money to recover from. These are conversations I have with my clients every day. These are the concerns that people have. What's going to happen? Because it's interesting. Right now, I talk with a lot of people where something is just telling them in their guts that something's got to give. The market's been doing great. These last 15, 16 years that they've been working, their 401ks and IRAs have grown tremendously, but something's just not sitting right. That feeling that you have in your gut is like a check engine light saying, you know what, pay attention to this before something tragically goes wrong. And so I invite you to give us a call at 860-288-9977. Pick a time to come in and have a conversation about this. Maybe your gut's telling you something that you should be looking at, and take the win. If your account has done tremendously well over the last 10, 15 years, amen to that. But let's not blow it. It's funny. I sit down with the clients. I say, you know what? You've done really well. You're all set for retirement. You've accumulated what you need. You can really look forward to your retirement years. But you also do have the opportunity to blow it. We chuckle a little bit. Yeah. You can screw things up. So let's avoid that and make sure that we get on the right track and stay on the right track.
And I just want to emphasize again, this is a complimentary introductory conversation. You can sit down with Glenn right here in his office. So let's get on his calendar. Let's see how he can best help you move forward. That phone number again, 860-288-9977. That's 860-288-9977. Or if online is better, you can find us at jabezfinancial.com. All right, I think we are all guilty of it. It is that medical appointment that strikes fear in so many people who have not done what they are supposed to do. Here's comedian Kellen Erskine. Take a listen.
By the way, if you're a dentist, would you stop asking us how often we floss? It's your job to know. Stop at the power move. I don't know why it matters to you. My root canal's paying off your Tesla. You shouldn't want me to floss. If I were a dentist, I'd be the richest dentist because everyone would love me because I wouldn't ask you questions. I treat you all like adults. I'd be on your side. Like, yeah, mouthwash burns. I don't use it either. Ugh. Anyway, that'll be $8,000. I'll see you next week. Grab a cookie on the way out.
It's so true. We all avoid it, Glenn. But, most dentists insist that you come in, you see them twice a year. So I wanted to ask you, how often do you recommend that clients undergo a review to uncover, let's call them financial cavities that might be in their retirement plan?
Yeah. All right. Here comes a bit of a confession.
No.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when I was in my 20s, there was a long stretch of time I didn't go to the dentist. Now, mind you, I did brush my teeth consistently. I brushed my teeth twice a day. And sometimes Were you
flossing, though?
No. No.
Thank you for the honesty.
I was in my 20s. No,
you were having fun.
I wasn't flossing. I was just brushing, and a really long time went by. And I finally decided, oh, you know what? I remember going to the dentist as a kid. Maybe I'll go. And so I was in my early 30s. I went to the dentist, and it turns out I had one cavity. So by the time I was in my early 30s, I had a total of one cavity in my whole life. And it was just a little deep groove. And he said it wasn't really a cavity. But you know what? I got lucky. I got good genes. I've got hard teeth, and I was able to go so long with just brushing and eating well. But
Fun fact about me, I've never had a cavity. Not even one.
not even one. Wow,
Not
you've got
even
me.
one. But you know what, Glenn? I floss. I'm a
Okay, well,
flosser.
well, me too. Now I'll tell you. Actually,
Now you are.
I love those little flossers, and
Oh, make life so easy. Just grab the floss picks.
That's
They couldn't
right.
make it easier for us now. I can understand not pulling the floss out of the case and, wrapping it around your finger and doing that whole thing. But the floss picks, there's really no excuse anymore.
That's right. That's right. Actually, I floss several. Actually, I think I floss almost after every meal.
You're making up for lost time.
I am, and I still have my teeth, which is great.
I love it.
But that being said, today I'm a lot more responsible. I'm a lot more, and yes, I go see the dentist and I get my regular cleanings every 6 months, whether I think I need it or not. And that's the point. You ever notice that some of the people with the nicest teeth, they're going to the dentist regularly, and it doesn't look like they need to. What I've found over the years, when finding people, when looking at their financial situations, the people that need the help the most take it the least. The people that don't need, the people that seem to be in great shape, they're the ones that continue to get new information, new advice, new direction. They're always seeking new information. And you would think, why would they have to? They've already got millions of dollars. They're all set. But they're the ones that keep looking for new information. But the people that are really struggling, they don't want it. They'll tend to stay in a perpetual state of frustration. And this is where, if you find yourself in the position of whether you're in really good shape and you just want to get some new information or have another set of eyes take a look at things, because no matter what situation you have, it can always be better. Or if you're in a situation where you really don't know what's coming next, I invite you to give us a call also, because my objective is I want to see everybody's life get better, not just the people that have tremendous amounts of money, tens of millions of dollars. That's great. They're good people. I'm happy to help them as well. But if you don't know how things are going to work out and you're open to having a conversation about it, I invite you to give us a call.
Yeah, moral of the story is that incorporating the help of a professional is going to be the key here, whether it's sooner rather than it's later. It's going to be the key to the success of your financial future. So if you're ready to get that conversation started, let Glenn be that partner for you. Or maybe you've already got a plan in place, like Glenn said, but you'd like a second opinion. You'd like a second set of eyes on what you've already got. Glenn would love to sit down with you for an introductory conversation. 860-288-9977 is how you get started. So give us a call. We'll find you the next convenient time on the calendar. That number, again, it's 860-288-9977. I'll say it one more time so you can write it down, 860-288-9977, or you can get started with us online anytime. We are at jabezfinancial.com, and that's Jabez, Jabez. All right, before we go today, have you clearly saved enough for retirement, but you keep on saying, I'll just work another year? If this sounds like you, it's likely due to at least one of the following reasons. 1, your job brings purpose and a sense of identity. 2, you're afraid of becoming bored in retirement. 3, you want to take advantage of your work's health insurance rather than Medicare. And lastly, you wouldn't mind the extra income. Before you know it, though, you fall into the one more year trap. So, Glenn, if somebody comes to you wanting to break this pattern, how do you help them overcome it?
Well, it actually requires it's an entire paradigm shift in your thinking. Understanding that we're creatures of habit. In fact, 95% of what we think about is habitual, and 60% of our actions are habitual. So anytime we introduce a new thought or a new action, by definition, there's going to be discomfort with it. So when we transition from working to not working, even if it's an improvement and an increase in quality of lifestyle, that also comes with it a certain level of discomfort. So we want to be able to set the patterns for ourselves. And if 95% of our thoughts are habitual, we also have to understand that we have 100% authority over the thoughts that we think. So it starts there. We really have to spend some time visualizing what we want our retirement to look like. What kind of experience do we want to have? And with the clearer vision we can have of what we want our retirement to look like, then it makes the action steps we need to take that much clearer. Because when we have a clear vision of the future of what we can realistically expect, we're able to look to the future with more enthusiasm and more excitement, and we can know that this is going to be a great season of life. It's not a matter of just trying to not outlive our money or trying to just not get sick or ill, but there's so much more to it. There's so much more to look forward to when you can see the how as to how it will all work out. When you have a plan and you have a system and you've got the right advisors in your life that'll see you through this, like you've got a good doctor, a good financial advisor, a good accountant. You know, when you've got these people in place, this support system for the next season, we can look forward to your retirement years, and they can be the best time of your life. You know, a lot of times older people will look back and they'll say to some kids, you know, enjoy it. It's the best time, you know, enjoy your youth. It's the best time of life. Well, I'll tell you, in my experience, the older I get, the better life gets. The better it gets better year after year. And as we intentionally bring great new relationships into our lives and give ourselves the emotional permission to grow past the people that sometimes some relationships need to go, now we can grow into the person that we were meant to be and live the lifestyle that was engineered for us to experience.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Manument Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.